Good morning. Good morning. It's Monday. It's 3:46 a.m. Bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, on my way to the gym that does not open up until 5 o'clock. But it gives me more time to sit here and contemplate, meditate, and think about different things. I was walking through the house, and it seems like I never have anything to say. I don't wake up intentionally with a script in mind about what I want to say when I get ready to talk. But as I'm walking through the house, because I always got some inspirational playing in the background, because I'm always engaged mentally in a thought of furtherance, something always comes to mind. And for some reason this morning, it was pressure. And pressure, I initially started thinking about pressure as something that is bad. Um, you know, I kind of want to have more kids. I don't think Ricky does. Well, she said she doesn't. Whether she does or does not, I'll take her at her word. And I have to believe it's not because it could be twofold. Because she made a good point yesterday. She said, "Bill, because I don't want to be tied down for the rest of my life with kids. I want to make sure that we raise what we have and that we have time to do other things," which makes complete sense. Maybe coming from a man's perspective, I'm thinking, well, we can have them and they can go spend the weekend at somebody else's house, grandparents. But I respected where she came from. But it also got me thinking, was it pressure? Was it pressure of finances? Was it a pressure of how? Was it pressure of physically how you're going to look afterwards? What was the reason why? For me, the reason why I would is simply because I love my kids. I love watching them grow up. And then when they grow up, you don't get that same, you can't get that back. You get different greater levels, but you don't get that same level of when they're babies. Now, I don't know if she has pressure, if there's pressure for those reasons or for what she told me. She just wants to, raise the kids we have, and, that's okay with her, and that's completely fine. But the word pressure, I started thinking, wow, if it's pressure, well, that sucks. Pressure's no good. But then I started thinking about the word, and within about 2 seconds, pressure, automatically, I thought of something breaking under pressure. Under so much pressure, things can break. But then within that split second, my perspective, my perception changed. It went from pressure breaking to pressure creating. Because some of the most valuable things in this world are created by pressure. The number one thing that's created by pressure, and some of the most heaviest pressure, is diamonds. Diamonds are created by pressure. So perception works in a multitude of ways. Yeah, because when I started thinking of more kids, I started thinking, damn, more money, more this, more that. But that pressure is good. That pressure is motivation. The pressure to keep you going, the pressure to keep you moving. I once sat at this conference next to this guy. He was very wealthy. He did very well for himself, but he wanted more. He wanted to do better. And he says, I can't get to that next level. And we started talking about our families. And he said, hey, do you have kids? I said, yeah, I have a couple kids, Silas, Malachi, Sanaya, etc. And he says, man, I don't have no kids. He said, you're so lucky. I said, okay, thank you. Now, without even getting into it, I didn't really care why he said that, but I said, thank you. He said, because you have that added pressure to keep you motivated. You see how he put a perspective on that? His perception on me having kids was even better than my perception on me having kids. And it created a better perception. He said, man, you got an additional pressure to motivate you to go harder, stronger, longer. This weekend on Saturday, Silas had a fitness test. Now, Silas is in karate, and he's been doing it for about a month or two. He's getting better at it. They teach discipline. They teach certain habits in the child to increase their mental focus. And inside this fitness test, it was at 7 o'clock in the morning. I hadn't looked at the paper quite yet. But once I got there, I'd started looking at the paper that we were going to be writing down his numbers on. He had to do so many punches in a minute. He had to do so many sit-ups, push-ups, so many high kicks in a minute. He had to do all these different time tests for strength. Well, what I noticed was it was 6 to 9 year olds in his class, and he's only 4. He's 4, gonna be 5. And I started thinking, I didn't want to place any doubt in his head, so I didn't say anything. I just went along with it. Pulled the instructor to the side later and said, "Hey, my son is younger. Does he get, does he get graded on a curb?" And the instructor said, "Well, we take everything into consideration." But Silas is doing real well through the process of the training and the exercise. And then the last thing that they have to do is run a mile. So they set these cones up and you have to run, I think it was 3 laps, up, back 1, up, back 2, up, back 3. So he had to run 1 mile. Now for me to run 1 mile, when I think about it, it's somewhat of maybe a little bit of an extraneating, or somewhat of a little bit of a difficult situation to do that. And what ends up happening is, as I'm watching him run, he starts off really fast, which makes me nervous because I'm thinking he's going to burn his energy up. But that's just my own anxiety. He's a child, he's running, that's all he knows how to do. He doesn't know anything about style. But what I noticed as he's running, he's making good pace and he's keeping up with probably the 2 oldest kids. But around the 3rd time around, meaning on the up, back, I noticed other kids starting to walk. And my fear was that Silas was going to look at them and say, if they're walking, then I can walk. And initially I caught him staring at one as he ran by them. And I could see the thought in his mind of slowing down because he's seen other people slowing down. And I was proud of him that he kept going, even though everything inside of him said, if you're walking, I can walk too. See, what he taught me at that moment is that when you're a child, you typically the one feature that you have that God has given you that you haven't lost yet, and hopefully never lose, is the ability to stay in your own lane, run your own race, not pay attention to what people around you are doing, and stay focused on what it is that you're doing in your lane. There was the tendency to stop, but he did not stop. So I guess the thing for me today is to stay in my lane and to recognize that pressure is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And pressure could also lead to a lot of diamonds. Staying in your own lane, well, nobody can run the race quite like you. Great Monday. Peace out.